everyone, welcome to Southern Wreaths. Today I'm going to be making this really fun Grinch wreath. These are the supplies I'm going to use to make this wreath. Okay, I'm going to start by adding some pipe cleaners to my wire frame. I'm going to add a pipe cleaner to each crossbar, and I'm going to twist it 3 times. I have a video in detail on how I do this, and I'll link it here. But basically, I do it on every inside crossbar, and then for the outside, I'll pick any random crossbar and then lay the pipe cleaner along the frame. Where the pipe cleaner ends, I add the next pipe cleaner. And then I'll do this all the way around. Usually the last pipe cleaner lines up with the first one you put down. And I chose to use these really fun red tinsel pipe cleaners. Alright, I'm going to use some 21-inch lime green mesh for the base. It has some metallic stripes in it. I'm going to use a zip tie to attach it to my frame. I have my mat down on my desk so I can have it for the measurements. My ruler broke, so this mat comes in handy with measuring. So I push the pipe cleaner out of the way to add the mesh, and then I'll just slide it back over once my mesh is attached. And I like to trim away the excess from the back. Go around and open up all of the pipe cleaners just so it's easier as I'm making my way around the wreath. And I'm going to put where the mesh starts on the 12-inch mark and then pull it out to the end of the mat. So I get about 12-inch poofs. And then I'm only twisting once because I'm going to add more things into my ties. But this mat really came in handy for measuring. I usually just grab my ruler because it's something I can just throw on the desk real fast and then put away. But I'm going to cut mesh too, so it was nice to already have it out. I like to fluff my poofs as I'm going around. You don't have to. You can go back at the end and do it. Sometimes I find if I mess up with a poof, if I have it crooked or if something's not poofed right, sometimes it can fold under or do weird things. I won't catch it. And if I wait to fluff, I won't catch it right away. So then sometimes I have to undo things. So it's easier to just do it as I'm going. So after I've done the outside, I'm going to open all the inside ties. And then I'm going to find the tie that's closest to where I've ended. And I'm just going to add the mesh into that. And this just brings it up to the center, or I'm sorry, into the center. And if you don't want to add it into your pipe cleaner, you can also use a zip tie to bring it up or into the center. And again, I'm measuring about 12-inch poofs. They might be slightly bigger because I'm reaching over the mesh to measure, but it doesn't really make a difference if it's an inch off. I like to do poofs for the base of a lot of my wreaths because it gives it height without it being like with the work frames. It makes them really poofy, but when you ship them, you have to keep them a certain size. The box has to be a certain size, but with these kind of wreaths, you can still ship them in a smaller box, but then once they take them out of the boxes, they're nice and fluffy. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I just like to have a base that makes it look taller than it is. It adds height. So once I'm done going around, I'm going to gather my mesh and just attach it to the crossbar with a zip tie and then trim that zip tie away and the mesh. And then you can just tuck it under the mesh that's left over. You'll just push it to the back. I'm cutting this mesh at 25 inches, I believe. 24 inches. But I'm moving it to the center when I cut it just because it's harder for me to cut all the way on the left side. and I don't want a lot of lines in my mat, so I try to use different sections of the mat to cut with. And I'm just going to do the ruffle method with this really cool mesh. It's like the metallic red, and it's got these little snowballs in them. I thought it was really fun, and it reminded me a lot of the Grinch. How it's kind of whimsical and different. And I'm just going to add one ruffle to each section. And then after I've added it, I'm kind of circling it around, tucking one part slightly behind the other to make kind of like a circle. It just covers more space that way, and it looks nice and even. This kind of mesh is really sturdy, so it stays where you put it. And I'm still only twisting once because I'm going to add some ribbon. So you just kind of pull it out and slightly overlap it with what you already had there, and it makes a nice little circle, and it covers really well. I still want to see the green, but since my sign was going to be more towards the green side originally, the sign I was going to use was going to be more green. I didn't want the background to be too green. I ended up going with a white sign. But see how much better it looks when you make it into a circle. It really covers, and then you just got these pops of green here and there. This particular ribbon, I didn't have enough to do the whole wreath, so I think 2 or 3 pieces are some red and white striped ribbon that don't have the green on the outside. But once you put everything together and you kind of separate stuff, you can't really tell. But like I said, my ruler broke, so I'm using this piece of cardboard that's just under 12 inches. It's probably like 1/4 of an inch less than 12 inches. And I just like to wrap it around and cut them, and then I get perfect size pieces of ribbon. Yeah, see, there's the 2 pieces that just have the red outside and they're diagonally striped. But like I said, once you mix them all in, you can't tell. And I like to dovetail the ends of all my ribbon. And then I'll go through and I'll stack the ribbon the way I want to put it on the wreath. This, for me, makes it easier, makes my job quicker as I'm making the wreath. And I'm able to spread out the ribbon. Like those pieces of ribbon that were different, I know for sure that they're not going to be right beside each other because of the way I've stacked the ribbon. But if you're using, 2 of the exact same ribbon, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have them stacked. It's just easier for me. Now this time when I'm rolling down my pipe cleaners, I'm kind of letting them stand up a little bit to make them part of the wreath and part of the decoration, just because I thought the pipe cleaners were so pretty. So when I'm curling them, I'm kind of keeping them standing up. You probably can't really tell because of the red mesh, but they're slightly standing up. I just thought this was a fun little touch. I heard someone suggest one time you can put like little foam balls on the ends of the pipe cleaners, and then it'll be like, even more decoration with your wreath. So after I went around and did the center ribbons, now I'm just going to add to the outside. And I do the same for the outside as I do on the inside. I just fold it in half, pinch it in the middle. And you can either open your tie and add the ribbon or just add it directly on top. The difference is when you open your tie to add the ribbon, it kind of sinks into the wreath. If you put it on top, it kind of stands out. And since there was so much going on with this wreath, I kind of like the idea of it's kind of pushed down and it's like one with the mesh. But it doesn't really make that big of a difference. You can't really tell, to me, you can't really tell that big of a difference. It just depends on what you're in the mood for, I guess. I do like to do my ribbons in an X, meaning like if I to this ribbon on the left, if I put the red and green up on the right side, I'm going to put the red and green down just to create an X. So I had a lot of different fun picks that I could add. This particular one I cut up I had several, there was one big pick and I cut it into little pieces. And I'm just kind of figuring out how I want to lay this out by laying them on here. I didn't want to glue anything because I didn't want to commit to where everything was. So I'm just gonna wrap the wire of each pick around the frame, and then I add a zip tie. Some of them you can use your fingers to bend. This particular one I had to use wire cutters. You probably don't have to add the zip tie if you wrap your pick enough, but I just felt better with the zip tie on it, just as extra security. The great thing about doing that is if you don't like where you put something, you can just cut it off and move it, so you're not completely committed. But when you glue things, you kind of, if you move it, there'll be glue left and it could leave a big mess. Which is why I guess some people lay everything out before they glue, but for me that seems like you're doing twice the work. And I always like to push my zip ties back so there's no sharp pieces sticking out, because you don't want to scratch someone's door. The fun thing about a Grinch wreath is you can add so much crazy looking picks together. I love the little red spiral pick that I'm about to add. It just reminded me so much of the Grinch. That one right there. I just thought that was so much fun. And this one I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just wrapping it around the bars and attaching them with zip ties. And I'm going to do that with every single pick, so I'll probably show you that. But I just wanted you to see how I add each one differently, depending on how long they are. Like this one was easy to bend. I didn't need any help. Some of them I do need help with. Like this particular one, I just had to wrap around, but it wasn't actually wired. I mean, it was, but it wasn't thick wire. So I definitely wanted to use a zip tie on it. So you just kind of, you know, feel whatever you have to figure out the best way to attach it. I really love these little glitter balls. I've already added 2. So this one I'm just trying to stick it through the mesh. And then again, I just wrap it around, add a zip tie. And I'm making sure that the picks aren't sticking out either. There's no sharp points. I've glued the back of this. I actually made this sign. I just printed off on a piece of photo paper this image, and then I glued it to one of the Dollar Tree canvases. And then on the back of that, I just used some hot glue. I think I used some cardboard to help it stick. And you can see there's some extra picks in there that I've added, but I didn't want to show you that because it's literally the exact same thing over and over again. But that's it. That's how I made my Grinch wreath. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, or you can email me at craftingwithlee@yahoo.com. Thanks so much for watching, and if you like my video or learned anything, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.